In this video, I'm going to talk about function composition, and we're going to do a couple of examples of it, and I'll show you a way to think about it that I think is the way most people do think once they understand it pretty well. So remember this notation, f of g of x. Here's what it means. You start by taking the stuff from g and you put it inside of f. Now, there's another way to say that maybe makes it a little more clear. What do I mean by inside of f? Take the stuff from g and put it inside each x that's in f. Let's look at an example. F of x equals x squared plus x, and g of x equals 3x minus 2. Find f of g of x. Let's apply the definition first. Take the stuff from g and put it inside each x that's part of f. Let me reword that a little bit more specifically now that we know what's going on in this example. Take 3x minus 2 and put it inside each x that's part of f. Well, in fact, I can be even more specific. Take 3x minus 2 and put it inside each x in the formula x squared plus x. So you would put 3x minus 2 in the x squared, and you would also put it in the plus x. Now that might be enough already for you to see how to do this problem, but there is a way that's a little more visual and can show you even more specifically where things go. So let's focus on just the important parts of this example. We don't need all the letters and f and g. We need the formula, 3x minus 2. We need the other formula, x squared plus x. Then we focus, we take the stuff on g, in g. I also usually rewrite the second formula with little parentheses around each x, because that gives us kind of a little room to put stuff inside of. And now I can show you where 3x minus 2 goes. It goes inside those parentheses. And now I can animate it. And that's the final result. Here's a summary. Circle the stuff from G, draw arrows to the x's that are in F, and then rewrite it where everything is combined. Let's try it again with another example. So this example, the formulas look a little more complicated. They've got a square root of x and something over x squared. And also I've changed one other thing in this example. It says find g of f of x. Do you see what I changed? It's f that's going inside of g this time. So that's just kind of the opposite way around from the last example. Let's do it the same way. Let's start by focusing on the formulas. So we focus on the first formula, 5 square root of x plus x. And that's the one that's going to go inside. There's the second formula. I'm going to take the first formula, so I circle it. I'm going to put little parentheses around each x in the second formula to make a little room. And then I'm going to draw arrows showing you where the stuff on top goes. And there's the animation. And that's the result. And let me again summarize this. We have f on top, we have g in the middle, and on the bottom we have the result of plugging the stuff into g. Okay, I want to look at one more example, but with a little different reason this time. The way the book writes problems like this, and the way most books write it, doesn't use red circles and red arrows. They write it as an equation. And I want to show you how that looks so that you don't get confused if you're looking at a book or a solution somewhere else. So here's another pair of functions, e to the x and x squared. And we're going to find f of g of x. I'll do it the red circle notation the first time. So I circle x squared. I put e to the x underneath that with some parentheses. Draw an arrow showing you where the x squared goes, and then finally the result, e to the x squared on the bottom. Now here's a different way of doing the same steps using the notation that is closer to what the book has. And each step kind of has a different way of looking at it. The first step, people usually write just f of x squared. Now you might look at that and think, that doesn't really look the same. On one side I have a red circle, on the other side I don't see that at all. But if you focus just on the part that's inside, if you make your parentheses red and you kind of forget about f, you can see that it's kind of showing you the same thing. It's identifying the stuff that we start with. What about the second step? I'm not going to use an arrow here, and there's kind of something funny in this second step. Here's the way the book would write it. F of x squared. It's actually the same thing I wrote on the first line, but here you kind of look at it from a different perspective. Here I'm thinking, what am I plugging stuff into? And I kind of forget about the part that's on the inside. So there's one way of writing things, and you can kind of look at the inside, or you can look at the outside. And those are the two steps that we already did on the left. Putting it all together, you get the same result as we got doing it the first time. Now a book wouldn't usually write these three lines like this. They would write a single line with stuff connected by equals signs. And that's the way they'd write that. F of g of x equals f of x squared. And that step shows you two things: what's going inside and where it's going. And the final step is e to the x squared. So that's everything in this video. 3 examples, different notation, and also comparing it to the book notation.